So let's hone in on trying to really figure out that the ways of man, the ways and patterns of humanity and society leads to results. And the Torah tells us exactly what that is. So that is what I wanted to touch about the faith, which leads us again to the parasha, where Moshe Rabbeinu says, look, re'eh, look, clearly, I am presenting to you in an orderly fashion. That's how Seadia comments when he says, noten lifnechem, I am presenting you orderly, in an orderly way, not randomness. No. Clear, again, clarity. Without order, you don't have clarity, you have distortion. Mm-hmm. Thus, you have manipulation.
So when things are ambiguous and things are open to interpretation, then it's fair game to anybody coming and taking it. So
things can be open to interpretation as long as within the framework of what has been given. The Torah requires interpretation as long as within the system. Right. So that's fine.
Okay.
But when things are not presented in an orderly way, in a coherent way, then things can be very much manipulated, and that's usually the case. Coherency, there has to be.
Okay.
Right?
I see what you mean.
And he says, beracha, blessing, and kalala, curse. Basically, things that are beneficial for you and things that are not beneficial for you. So we touched upon that if you follow, you get X. If you don't follow, you get Z. And the benefits are the land itself, the economy, security, abundance, joy, etc. Mm-hmm. And the opposite is the non-beneficial things.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And we're going to see in the later parashiyot as well, specifically in Parashat Kitavo, where Moshe Rabbeinu really lays out what the berachot are, and then really lays out what the kelalot are as well. Mm-hmm.
Right. That they are probably going to happen. The question is, how do you deal with them? See, things are going to happen within the course of world history because of geopolitics, because of invasions of different empires. Mm-hmm. The Greeks were not really interested in conquering Israel. They were interested in conquering the whole territory from Iran to Greece to Egypt. It happened to be Israel was in the middle. What does that have to do with the people following Torah or not? It's going to happen anyways. The question is, how do we deal with the situation?
So that's always the key. And that can be the beracha.
That
can be the kelala.
Yes, because we're part of the world society and civilizations.
It's one manifestation of it.
It is.
Okay.
It's out of our hands. What other empires and what other nations do is totally out of our hands.
Yeah.
However, how are we going to protect ourselves? How are we going to deal with situations where they're going to come up with? Are we going to deal with them through the Torah guidance, as with strength, or are we going to be portrayed as we're weak and we'll succumb and we're your slaves and servants? Okay. That is how diplomacy works. That is how negotiations work. Not only in business, but in politics.
Right.
Anyone that is negotiating from a weak standpoint is going to lose. They're going to have to give up way more. And the opposite is the case.
Right. Where I was thinking was when it says beracha and kelala was, at the end of the day, like the road that you're going to be on will be full of berachot, but it's not a linear road, right? The same with the flip, with the kelot as well. That long run, there will be beracha. Long run, there may be, depending on what you do, there will be berachot and kelalot. But in the short term, medium term, you don't know how it'll unfold. But not just that, even when there are downturns and down points of things getting challenging, like you said, failures, right? Depending on the perception that you have, depending on the value system that you work with, and like you're alluding to before, with personal responsibility and accountability, that within itself is also beracha, being able to then pivot as that inflection point and seeing, okay, now what do I do differently, or how do I change my ways in order to avoid this situation, but not just that, overcome what I'm going through and become stronger, and therefore continue on the path that God set out for.
Precisely. That's also beracha. Having clarity, having mental clarity is probably the top or the second blessing that God can ever give you. It's always a challenge between mental clarity or physical health. Those are the top two. And it could be argued.
Yeah.
Okay? From this parasha, as well as other parashiyot, but here and later on when Moshe says, "Ubaharta b'chayim,"
Yeah.
choose life. This is where the fundamental idea is concretized of the principle of freedom of choice that the entire edifice of the Torah stands upon. Rambam says this in Hilchot Teshuvah, in this 5th chapter, in the beginning, where he says, the pillar of the entire Torah, of what this law can stand on in order for it to work and function, as well as be presented to humanity, is the principle of freedom of choice, that every human being has the power to choose freely what they want. They can choose to be a tzaddik, a righteous person, and they can choose to be a rasha, an evil person. They can choose right, wrong, good, evil, moral, immoral, impulse, not impulse, what do you want to call it? You want to choose morality, immorality, you want to choose Yetzer Tov, Yetzer Hara. It's in your choice. It's in our hands, and nothing can stop us. Now, I might be afraid of doing something like to get caught, but I can still do it if I want to. I can still do it. Forget the consequences. Forget them.
Right, just the action itself.
The action itself, nothing stops me. Even God does not stop me. I can rebel against my Creator. That is the power of freedom of choice that God gives to humanity. In order to define what human is, and that's not another biological organism, and in order to hold us accountable for what we do, leading us to become better humans. That is the whole premise of what the Torah stands upon. Of course, it's conveyed first with the story of Adam and Eve. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay? But in such objective language, forceful language, how Moshe Rabbeinu says it in this parasha and later on in others, and God says, I suggest choose life, choose good, for your own benefit. Why do you want to fail on purpose? You will fail and make mistakes, it's true. But why would you want to do it on purpose? We don't know better.
We don't know better.
No.
No.
We do not know better than God.
That for sure. It's very easy to forget, though. It's very easy to get in our own heads and get in our own way.
That's why what we spoke in the beginning.
Yeah.
Higher consciousness of God. The mitzvot help us to keep that awareness. It's true. But they are only tools to lead us to know God more. Reminders, connectors to know God more. Because ultimately, as Rambam says, as the Geonim say, even the Torah says, to know God doesn't mean to be a saint. We don't believe in saints. It doesn't mean to seclude yourself in the Himalaya mountains. We don't believe in that. No. We believe how to be a functioning citizen in the society that we are, to be productive, to be useful, to improve the standards of oneself as well as others, with all the challenges. That is part of knowing God. And how to do it? Through His will. It's funny, there's a pasuk, I think it's in Tehillim or Mishle, I forgot. It says, Ta'amu ur'u ki tov Adonai.
It's this in Tehillim.
Tehillim, right? Ta'amu, what is lit'om? Lit'om is just taste, a little taste. Doesn't say tochlu, doesn't say eat. Ta'amu, just taste a little bit of the beauty of what God is proposing to you in the Torah, and you'll see, Ki tov honai, that God is only good to us. God is only beneficial to us.
That's the rest of the yeah.
Praiseworthy is the man that finds solace
Yes.
under God. So, yeah, we find comfort, we find clarity. But again, it's a system, it's a pattern, it's a mechanism.
So it's funny you're saying this because the way that the Pesukim convey themselves absolute, immediate.
But nothing is immediate.
Right, but
see, this is interesting. I'm glad you make this point because I'm going to give you another example.
Okay.
Okay. Just like you say that the Torah is saying, if you follow this, you get this. Yani, hold on a second.
It's a formula.
What happened in the middle? Like, where's all the stuff in the middle? Right? How does it happen? The Torah doesn't say this. Okay. Isn't it interesting also that when God creates the universe in the first chapter of Bereshit, He doesn't say how?
True. Okay.
That is where human inquiry comes to play. And the pattern, in the connecting the dots of the results of ourselves, our society, of who we are, okay? As well as inquiry, how did God create the universe? If He's going to tell it to you, everything in one shot, who needs inquiry anymore?
There's no point.
If anything, it dumbs us down. It's not good.
So you're saying also, I'm going to make a very funny connection because of something I saw today. When we're provided with everything, we just
we become lazy.
Lazy.
Complacent. That is not humanity. God wants us to push forward.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is this point. It's such a fascinating point, and I think we're starting to see this more and more in our day and age, especially with AI. But I was watching a movie on the plane. It's funny. Ever heard the movie WALL-E? It's like an animated movie. It's like this little robot on Earth. He's living on Earth. He's just cleaning all the garbage. The human beings left Earth because it was uninhabitable. Okay. Now what happens is that they're in this spaceship, and what happens in the spaceship over the course of hundreds of years, that human beings just become lazy, fat, laying in their chairs, hovering around, not even walking or moving, and they're just eating everything all day, and they're entertained all day because everything's provided to them nonstop all the time. And it's as if they lost all their meaning and purpose, but the way that they just continue living is just continue forcing themselves.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the cartoon.
It is
when a few years ago.
I highly recommend.
I saw it.
I highly recommend everybody watch the movie
yeah.
because there's so many amazing, profound messages in that movie, especially with what we're living through now. Because ultimately, what they end up doing is the whole purpose of them going to space was that eventually, once Earth is clean and in order all the toxicity is removed, then they come back and replant and whatever. So they have like these bots that come in and find, goes through the Earth, search to see if there's any forms of life or signs of life. And the way that they symbolize in the movie that there is a very small little plant, the size of my hand, whatever, small little bud sprout coming in. And it's up to the humans on the board, and specifically the captain, who has to make the choice of, are we going to do this or not? We have everything provided for us on the spaceship. Why would we do anything different? Why would we change our ways when we're given everything and more? But Dafka, the fact that the captain made this ultimate decision to go back to Earth, plant that plant, and then recreate civilization, it's like it's like that mystery and the adventure, and like you're saying, the entire inquiry, or in other words, the meaning that is left in between the words is what we're meant to follow and pursue in order for us to live a meaningful life and really do something with the world as a whole.
Yeah.